Hi, how you doing? And welcome back to another video on the channel. What we have for you today is our preview of Game Week 23. I'm going to throw in a little review of Game Week 22 as well, and we're going to discuss some potential transfer options for my team specifically. So let's get into the review of last game week. So we do have my team on the screen here, and it was a pretty good game week, sixth green arrow in a row post World Cup, and obviously a lot of those points are tied up in Marcus Rashford. Definitely the right decision to captain him. Didn't have the triple captaincy chip anymore after using it on Haaland a couple of weeks ago, but I don't really regret it. Haaland did return in his double, and you at the time you kind of think, well, it was the right decision to do, or at least it wasn't a bad decision to do to captain Haaland in a double game week this season. Sometimes it doesn't always work out. And a last minute goal from Matoma really helped the team out as well. Was a little disappointed in the Man United defence not to get at least one clean sheet against Palace and Leeds when they were both at home. But obviously, that Casemiro red card in the first game kind of left them a bit vulnerable. I think they were looking pretty good until that point. And then Casemiro was missing for the Leeds game, which is a huge part of their defensive setup. So that sort of stuff you can't, plan for. It's not like when you're picking your Man United defenders, you go, well, what if Casemiro gets a red card? It's kind of something that just happens and you just roll with it. So a little bit disappointed in the players in general. De Bruyne is not quite doing it for me. And when we talk about the transfers, we are going to discuss about De Bruyne. But overall, we've gone up, 500k again, million places in the last two game weeks. And like we always say, obviously you've got the scope to go up 500k if you are over 3 million in rank compared to if you are 500k in rank. But it's in the right direction, and I'm super happy with the progress at the moment. We're really making that push. So let's see if we can continue it in game week 23. So moving on to the fixtures for this game week, and I do think it's really difficult to look past Haaland for a captaincy. I think it's someone that you've got a double with, and even if you've still got that triple captaincy, I think this is another good game week that you could use it on. Arsenal have those question marks after losing to Everton, and whilst that's probably just a little blip, and Everton have that new manager bounce, it is a question mark because you're playing Man City in the second double, and it's quite unpredictable because Man City themselves aren't also doing great. So this is maybe the sort of game that could finish 0-0. So whilst you're looking at that fixture, it's who would be better out of Arsenal, Man City to captaincy in terms of, do you fancy Arsenal against Brentford at home, or do you fancy Man City with Aston Villa at home? I just think that Haaland upside and that potential just to bang in a couple of goals out of nowhere in the space of 5 minutes just makes it too risky to avoid captaining him. So on to transfer number one. And option number one is taking Luke Shaw out for Ben White. Now, the reasons for this is Man United could blank in Man United will blank, sorry, in game week 25. I would make the most of Ben White's double fixtures for two game weeks in 23 and 25. And I can't take out Martinez because I only have point 0.1 in the bank right now. So I actually am point 0.1 away from going from Martinez to Ben White, which if that was the case, I think I would be more inclined to do it. Luke Shaw is currently valued at 5.3 million. I got him in really early, so I would sell him for 5 million, which means I would miss out on that point 0.3. I'm not super fussed about losing out on, like the transfer price increases. Um, but the downside is, how many points do I think Ben White is actually going to get against Brentford, who have shown that they can score against anybody? They've got Ivan Toney and Mbeumo up front, and Man City. Is Ben White going to get a clean sheet there? Would I be better off, leaving it for now? Because Luke Shaw has got Leeds again, and they have got the potential to keep a clean sheet against Leeds. So I think that point spread is actually quite minimal. And would I be shoehorning a transfer in just for the sake of a double game week where Arsenal's defence doesn't look that great? Moving on to option number two, and that would be De Bruyne to Odegaard, and that gives me quite a lot more in the bank of 5.5 million. Now, like we said earlier, I'm not too happy with De Bruyne. He's a bit inconsistent, just like Man City, and it's not like having Haaland in your team. Whilst you think, De Bruyne is De Bruyne, he's still more expensive than Haaland, and he does have that, risk of assisting the assister who then passes it to Haaland who bangs it in. So it's not like I'm talking about transferring out Haaland, and it would allow me to spread these funds about. The downside of this transfer is that De Bruyne also has a double game week in 23, so it is a bit of a sideways move. And I don't look at this transfer and say, well, obviously Odegaard's going to outscore De Bruyne in this game week. Like to me, it could still be De Bruyne scoring more than Odegaard, and I think if that is a real potential case to have, I'm kind of just wasting a transfer here. It's not like I've got two transfers to use and I'm going to lose one. I've only got one transfer to use, so I'm more inclined to go with option 3, which is to keep it the same. And this is the team that I've got this game week. I think rolling a transfer has real value for me. It gives me a bit more flexibility moving forward. And I can also, even if I was to take out De Bruyne to Odegaard, it would mean that I could maybe upgrade Nketiah to Jesus. Maybe if Jesus starts coming back before um, game week 25. It also just gives me a bit more flexibility in terms of working around the blank game week 25 without having to use a free hit. I'm not super keen on the teams that do have a double in 25 apart from Arsenal. I think people might try and sell you Liverpool assets, but I think to use free hits or to take points hits for your transfers to get in Liverpool players for a double, I'm not that keen on at all. I think if you were to free hit, then obviously you would get them in. But I think you're going to have a better option to free hit later in the season when we have sort of whole, blanks for like a lot more teams, or one of these massive double game weeks that has come as a result of like the FA Cup quarterfinals or something like that. So let me know what you think. I am inclined to roll a transfer. I do think my squad looks pretty good as it is. I'd quite like to play Dan Burn as well, to be honest, but I don't really know who in my lineup I would take out. Um, but thank you very much for listening. If you see somebody in my team or someone that I've not got that you think, oh, you really need him in, let me know. But thank you very much for listening. Thanks for all the support on the channel. Do really appreciate it. And I will see you in the next one.